Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Mayday Network. My name is Michelle Kinney. I'm your co-host. And here's Julie Roginsky, my
Hey,
fellow
everybody.
colleague, friend, expert on all things. And we want to talk to you guys this morning about the abysmal, brutal jobs report that just came out from the Trump administration, that is looking worse than they expected. And it hasn't been this bad, I think, right since December of 2020, which was the last month that Donald Trump was president in his first term. So, Julie, I don't know a ton about this stuff, to be honest, full transparency. So I would love to just ask you, like, top line, what do we need to know? And what are your first thoughts?
Well, if you were alive in the 1970s, or I should say, if you were conscious in the 1970s, I was alive, but I was not particularly conscious because I was very little.
Yes.
Um, but if you were around in the 1970s and an adult, you probably lived through something called stagflation.
Right.
And what stagflation is this awful convergence in the economy of inflation rising and unemployment rising, and basically the economy stalling. It's not just unemployment, I should say, but just the GDP stalling and a recession. And it is literally stagnation, but they call it stagflation because of inflation. That is where we are now. And I know that economists are not quite calling it that yet, but they're always very conservative. But I'm here to tell you, not because I'm being partisan, that is where we are now. I'm going to just give you some statistics to let you know about that. The numbers that came out today, the jobs numbers came in at just 22,000 jobs that were grown in August.
Oops, wrong one. Hold on, this one.
Yep.
Yeah, there we go.
Yep. And I want to just be clear about that. Those are not numbers that have been revised. Those are numbers that have been released. And what Trump has been complaining about with the Bureau of Labor Statistics is that these numbers always come in, they're revised down the line, and so on and so forth. Well, they're revised down the line mainly because they send out these surveys, and surveys don't always come back in time, and people take their time sending them back. So a month or two later, once the surveys come in, the Bureau of Labor Statistics revise them. So the number to really look at is not necessarily what came out today. The number to look at is what the revised numbers were in June, which also came out today. And this is really important, right? Employers cut 13,000 jobs in June. And I tweeted this out. The last time that we had these kinds of numbers, we had a net loss of jobs was in December of 2020, which was Trump's last full month in office.
Right.
But, at least back then you could blame it on the pandemic shutting everything down.
Right. I mean, things were,
Right.
in a place that we don't often see in our lifetimes, right? I mean,
Correct.
the whole world was in the same pandemic, suffering. There was a shortage and of supplies and resources. There were all kinds of things adding to that. But this was completely human made.
This was man-made,
Manufactured.
by one man, Donald Trump, and I'll explain why in a second. But the thing that's also important to note is, even as we're seeing these downward revisions of job numbers, that we're losing jobs and the unemployment rate has already ticked up, you're also seeing that job growth is stalling across the board, but also that inflation picked up again in June, right? And inflation picked up again in June, and it rose at a 2.7% annual rate. So that is the definition of inflation. We're not yet in a recession, but we're headed there. I mean, we just are. All indicators point to that. And that's where we are. I mean, I think people need to be very aware of what's happening. If you have a job now, that's great. If you don't have a job now and you're looking for one, the odds of you finding it are not great. And I think that's something that people really need to be very aware of what's happening. There are other statistics I could just, I don't want to be too statistics heavy, but I think it's important for people to kind of think about, because there's just so many different things for us to consider, right? So look at how many industries have lost jobs in the last 3 months. And I'm going to list these industries, and I'm going to give you, maybe you could figure it out. Maybe people in the chat could put it in. What's the connection of all these industries, right? Mining has lost 13,000 jobs in the last 3 months. Construction has down 10,000 jobs. Manufacturing is down 31,000 jobs. The information sector is down 15,000 jobs, business professional down 51,000 jobs. The federal government, of course, thanks to Donald Trump, firing everybody, 34,000 jobs. Finance has gained 0 jobs. In fact, healthcare is the only place where we're gaining jobs. And, our entire job market is almost entirely dependent on healthcare. What is mining? What is construction, manufacturing? That's tariffs, my friends.
Mm-hmm.
That's before tariffs even kicked in. That's just people not knowing whether they should be planning for tariffs, whether they should be investing, whether the tariffs are going to happen, not going to happen. Uncertainties, like the worst thing that could happen in an economy. If he just put tariffs in and said, this is what we're doing, I think it would have sucked, but people would have said, okay, now we can make plans. But because of all the back and forth, they're not able to make plans, which is causing even more chaos. So, just something to think about here. I'll give you another example. Agriculture, soybeans, which is a huge export of American farms, are collapsing because China isn't buying them. Well, why isn't China buying them? Well, because we put massive tariffs on China.
Right.
Farm economies in horrible trouble. And that's the Midwest. That's places like Louisiana. Everything is awful. Mortgage applications are down 34% from
Oh my God.
levels, even worse than 2008 when the housing market crashed. They're down 34% from pre-pandemic levels, worse than when the market crashed in 2008.
I didn't know that.
So, these are all things you guys need to know. And the reason I'm saying this is because we're in deep shit. And I don't think that you have mainstream media, which is so afraid to say it because they don't want to offend Trump, or because, God forbid, from on high, somebody hasn't said we're in a recession yet or there's stagflation yet. It's here. And I think we need to stop dancing around it. And I think we need to acknowledge what's happening.
Right.
Trump is driving this economy into a ditch. While he's having dinner with, the tech bros yesterday, regular people are suffering. And it's just unconscionable that Congress is doing nothing about this. So the last thing I'll say, Michelle, and then we move on, is that he's going to get his rate cut. I mean, the Fed is meeting in September. He's been agitating for a rate cut.
Yeah.
And the Fed
was complaining about Jerome Powell this morning on Truth Social, saying that he was Jerome too late Powell.
All right. Well,
this is what he says. I mean,
Jerome Powell's not on the ballot. By the way, he appointed Jerome Powell. So
good luck.
But he could be Jerome too late Powell or not too late Powell. Inflation's going to rise once you cut interest rates.
Right.
So, the reason Powell hasn't cut interest rates yet is because he's worried about inflation. And that's where we are right now. The last time we had this in the 70s, it was awful. I mean, play this. This is,
Oh, I don't have the clip exact. I can play it over here, but let me just hold on. Keep talking, and I'll try to grab it over here.
I mean, Fox is melting down. Because you can't spin away the economy. People feel that inherently in their bones.
Right. Well, that's the thing.
That's the problem.
That's the thing. And to your point about the pandemic, right, is like that was, I think people, as awful as it was, there was an explanation. There was something that was tangible and kind of in front of us that we could see, and it made sense, and it was awful, but we'll get through this kind of thing all together. But for the majority of Donald Trump's first term, the economy was pretty good. And this is the first time that people are going to be feeling the pain of a Trump economy without a pandemic and without some, sort of other extenuating circumstance that we're all suffering under. Like, this is Donald Trump's fault. And it is up to us, the opposition and the Democrats, to make sure that we message that to the American people, because they're going to try to spin this, blame it on Joe Biden, blame it on this, blame it on that. But this is their fault. And this is something, assuming that we are going to have free and fair elections next year, that needs to be taken into the midterms as a major messaging point.
You're absolutely right. And by the way, meet me over at Substack, because I have a column on this today that I just literally hit send on right before we went live right now. But, in the midst of all of this, we're facing another government shutdown. And if they don't fund the budget or pass a continuing resolution by September 30th, the budget will shut down, which means that no more funding for a lot of things. I think. I mean, who knows with Trump? He doesn't really care about the law that much, but really should be, no more funding for a lot of things. The last time we were facing a shutdown, Chuck Schumer blinked, if you remember, in March, and he
Yep.
took some Democrats with him, and they basically allowed the legislation to move forward that funded the budget.
Yeah, and there was a lot of people there that I mean, in particular, Brian Schatz, I was very, very upset that he, but again, like the more we learn about these things, it's like he was trying to get votes to be the minority whip and things like that, and
Yeah,
so he
you
had to
know
take
what?
the side of Chuck Schumer, and I'm just like, ugh. But like, there was a lot of them. Kristen Gillibrand was one of them too. It didn't
Yeah.
make any sense to me, and
Well, she did it probably because he asked her and they served in the Senate together. They're both from
I
New York.
know. Yeah,
So,
I know.
and I just want to say this. This is what Schumer said in March before he voted to advance this bill to fund the government. First, he said funding the government should be a bipartisan effort, but Republicans chose a partisan path, drafting their continuing resolution without any input from congressional Democrats. Okay, that's great, but he's right. And then days later, he reversed his position. And this is what he said: as bad as the CR, the continuing resolution is, I believe allowing Donald Trump to take even much more power via a government shutdown is a far worse option. All right. Bullshit. Because Donald Trump proceeded, after Chuck Schumer caved, to take more power, which is why he's doing rescissions, which is basically Congress approves spending, and he just says, nope, we're not spending it. Sorry. I mean, literally taking the power of the purse away from Congress. And this has led to the funding of ICE to a level of an authoritarian police force, which, by the way, if you think it's going to stop with just undocumented migrants, it's not. They're coming for all of us. It's literally Trump's private police force. And
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, I'm putting this call out right now to anybody who hears me. If one Democrat votes to keep this government open, if Republicans push through another continuing resolution or another omnibus funding bill that is going to not take Democratic priorities into account, if they're not going to sit down with Democrats and negotiate in good faith, which you can bet your ass they're not going to, if one Democrat votes for that, you vote that Democrat out. That Democrat does not deserve to be there. And I'm going to give you some statistics as to why. Poll after poll, including one that was released in August by Navigator Research, says that if there's a government shutdown, they will blame Republicans. That's it. And what voters want is a budget that includes reversing Medicaid cuts and blocking tax breaks for the rich. Well, guess what's not happening right now? Negotiations to do that. And so I think we're looking at a government shutdown unless Chuck Schumer caves again, in which case,
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm not even going to wait. I mean, somebody's going to have to take him out. That's all there is to it. You just can't do it.
Take him out in the election. And maybe
I'm
AOC.
sorry. Yes,
take him out in the
no. Not take him out in the election. Take him out as leader. I mean, literally.
Oh, well, yeah, that too.
I mean,
because he's going to get primaried.
Don't wait.
For sure.
Yeah, but don't wait till the election. I mean, the caucus needs to get together and go to him and say, you do not have the votes to continue as leader anymore, Mr. Leader.
Yeah, I mean, the lack of leadership in general from both minority leader of the Senate as well as, Hakeem Jeffries in the House, I mean, has been completely disappointing. And, before anybody comes and says, well, you're only picking on Democrats, well, those are our people and they're the ones that can do something. And so, yes, I'm going to continue to push them and we should all be pushing them. And, it's also like, we get this in the comments a lot. It's like, why aren't you going after Republicans as much as you are going after, the Democrats? I'm like, okay, we're talking about two very different things here. We're talking about, you know what I'm saying? Like, these are not.
Let's be very clear.
Yeah.
Everything that's happening right now is the fault of the Republicans because
absolutely
they are in charge. Donald Trump is the president. Mike Johnson, Republican of Louisiana, is the speaker.
Yeah.
And John Thune, Republican, South Dakota, is the Senate Majority Leader. That's the Republicans. Everything that's happening is their fault. But I will tell you this. What's going to happen is that, once again, Mike Johnson is probably not going to be able to get people in the Freedom Caucus to support any kind of funding bill because they're going to want more cuts and Johnson's.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be.
So he's going to need more. And, that's the problem.
Yeah. Well, I want to play this thing that Aaron Rupar posted. Hold on, before presenting. Okay, sorry, StreamYard. Okay.
22,000 jobs added in the month of August. That was much
Can you
less
see that?
than the expectation of 75,000, guys. The July number was revised. I will get to revisions in a moment. Unemployment rate coming in as expected, 4.3%. So that would be higher than July's 4.2%. Again, 22,000 jobs added in August. Let me get you the revisions because this is what everybody is focused on. For June and July together, combined 21,000 jobs lower than previously reported. I'll categorize that now. So you see for June, it was revised down by 27,000, getting you to negative 13,000, and the change for July up by 6,000, getting you to 79,000.
Go through them, Lauren.
Yep, I sure do. 22,000 jobs added in the month of August.
So let me take that out. So that was Fox Business reporting this. And then I just want to play this because leading up to that jobs report that everybody knew was coming today, Congressman Fine, I think of Florida, was on CNN trying to spin. I mean, it is remarkable to watch these people time and time again. It's similar to watching the Senate Republicans, most of them, with the exception of like 2 or 3, question RFK Jr. yesterday, trying to convince themselves along with the American public that everything is fine and everything is normal and like we're the ones being mean. Don't be mean to him. I mean, it's craziness. So I just want people to listen to this and what he had to say on CNN this morning.
We are going to have a big jobs report coming out, the August jobs report, in a little over, who knows what time it is anymore. It's 1:00 on CNN News Central. It will be coming out shortly, and we will bring it to everyone. When it does, are you going to believe the numbers?
I'm gonna look at the numbers. Look, the people who put these numbers together are human and they're fallible and they make mistakes. And if you go back and you look how these numbers always get put out and then they always get changed later.
It wasn't that they make mistakes. The reason that the president kicked out the commissioner of Bureau of Labor Statistics was he said that they were faking it. They were cooking the books, which there's no evidence of that. So do you think?
When the numbers are always wrong in one direction, you have reason to be suspect, and so
there's no
I
evidence
understand
of
that. What I can tell you is
it's when more of the businesses respond and give the information and submit and respond to the ask from the Labor Department, then they can adjust what they have. It's like I get more information, we can adjust the numbers. That's been happening from the beginning of time. Yes, there has been more variable. That's for a lot of reasons, which they say fewer businesses are actually responding to these surveys, but that doesn't mean they're cooking the books.
Well, I think that when there's problems with methodology, sometimes it's intentional, sometimes it's not. But when the numbers are always wrong in one direction, there's reason to have. I think the methodologies were problematic, and we see this in all kinds of things where numbers always tend to benefit the left, and when the facts come out, they don't anymore.
What?
And so I think the president did the right thing there, and we'll see what these numbers are like today. What I will tell you is I did 81 visits in my district over the August recess, met with manufacturers of all types, and they're very optimistic about the Trump economy. It was extraordinary. I met with boat builders and fishermen and all kinds of different companies, and they're very optimistic about where we are right now.
It was declared that this is the Trump economy officially, though it took a moment. He still said it was the Biden economy for a bit.
Yeah.
So we'll see what the Trump economy is starting to look like now.
Wild. He said the numbers tend to benefit the left. And then when the real numbers come out, they don't anymore.
Well, understand what's happening. They're going to start cooking the numbers.
Oh, I feel like,
I mean, listen.
I'm sure heads are going to roll today.
Yeah, they're going to start cooking the numbers. They are going to politicize the Federal Reserve. And that's when we become a banana republic, because every time a government does that, it leads to mass inflation.
Right.
Erdogan did that in Turkey, and it led to mass inflation.
What this is where I don't understand, where people don't learn. And I understand that the people in power, like, this is their job. They want to shrink the country. They want to shrink the country. They want to consolidate power. This is a huge part of Project 2025 and the Heritage Foundation's kind of goal to dismantle. And of course, you know, the tech guys have a whole other, set of goals having to do with their techno-fascist network state nonsense and crypto and all this other stuff. But how does this help anyone? And this is the thing that always just, from a values perspective, and as an American, I look at this system that we have in this country that has helped these people become as rich, as powerful as they are. And then they get into power and they make all their money, and then they use all of that to break it down.
You know, I think this is the problem here is from day one, Trump didn't like facts, right? Because they
Right.
were Al Gore, to paraphrase Al Gore, they're like inconvenient truths. So it became the deep state. And
Right.
first, the deep state was with respect to, as he calls it, the Russia hoax. So that was our national security.
Mm.
And now the deep state is clearly hanging out in the Fed and at the Bureau of Labor Statistics and providing numbers and data that is just inconvenient to him.
Right.
So, you know, to the extent that anybody thinks of anything, this is, as he said, the Trump economy.
Yeah.
And he can listen. I remember going on CNN right before the election and talking about how great the statistics were. And what the election showed is nobody really cares about the statistics. What people care about is how they're feeling themselves.
Mhm.
And you can go ahead and cook the books any which way you want. You could say we're having massive job growth. You could say we're having record low inflation. You can say we're bringing manufacturing back. You can say any of those things. People know what they see when they go to the store. People know
Yep.
what they see when they're applying for a job. People know what they see when they're trying to, you know, import something from other countries, and all of a sudden it turns out that they can't. All of that is tangible. I mean, you can't fool people when it comes to their own feelings about the economy.
Right.
And good luck to him. I mean, seriously, I mean that. Good luck to him, because the Pottery Barn rule applies, right? You break it, you own it.
Yeah, it does. And to that point, you know, there's a couple things here that I just want to touch on this subject. Number one, I got a DM on Twitter the other night. I know I texted you about this, from an elected official. It was either him or one of his staffers, sent me this chart that the GOP was almost bragging about the revenue of tariffs coming into the United States government. Because apparently the party of we don't like taxes like loves a tax now. And I tweeted about this. Tariff revenues from January to August going up, up, and up, and up. Now, this is where I said GOP unveils new bar chart celebrating Trump's big tax hike, because tariffs are a tax on the American people, skyrocketing prices and rising costs for American families. Congrats. And again, this is just another example of them gaslighting. Like, they're trying to tell the American people, hey, this is all good. The tariffs, by the way, you're not paying for them. And it's great. All of this is going so well. And this was 2 days ago. And now look at what's going on. It's only going to get worse.
You guys, I don't know how many of you have kids and have done back to school shopping, but did you notice that it costs a lot more this year?
Yeah.
I had to buy cleats the other day for my son for soccer, and I can tell you it cost a lot more than it cost last year. It just did. Same place. Went to the exact same store.
Listen, I don't know about you, but I don't have kids. It's just my husband and I. So, I mean, I hate, this kind of sounds like a douchey, but like, I don't like pay attention to grocery stuff as much, because I'm always just kind of grabbing and going. But we had just gotten back from being away, and I did a big like grocery shop on Instacart from Westside Market. And I put everything in the cart, and then I looked at the tally and I was like, wait a second, excuse me? It was like $200 when it never is. And so I started going line by line by line, and I was like, paper towels for $48. It's like $50 for paper towels. So you have got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
And I eventually, I was like, scratch this. And I ended up going out the store myself and like went to 3 different stores to try to like find better prices. But like, I've not had to do that, really. I mean, as a household of 2 people that are constantly running around, like really having to like line by line, because I was like, this is ridiculous. I can't imagine having kids and a family having to do this. Like, oh my God.
It's really hard. It's really hard. And I think that's what we're dealing with. And by the way, Christmas is not so far away.
Yeah.
The holiday season is coming. We're in September. And so what's going to happen is, in the next couple of months, people are going to start shopping for Barbie and start shopping for Nintendos and other things that are made with parts that are either imported or the entire product is imported from somewhere else, because you try making a Barbie in this country, it's going to cost you a tremendous amount of money.
Right.
And that's what's going to happen. Now, I will tell you, the next thing they're going to try to do is get rid of the federal minimum wage so that they can bring the cost of goods down. And try forcing people to work for slave labor wages effectively.
I mean, right. I mean, and that's the thing
to make Barbies at home, which nobody's going to be able to buy because they're working for really low wages.
I think when people saw that capitalism was possible in a place like China, where they don't have a middle class like we had here, a strong middle class and labor unions and things like that, I think when they saw that, they realized that things were possible here. Not to mention this country, this, you know, an inconvenient truth again, to your point, this country was founded on slave labor. Like the economy of this country, like that is a foundation of our economy.
Yeah.
And that is real. And there's always this original sin and stain on our labor market here. And that's why unions, we just celebrated Labor Day. This is why union protections and the middle class is like so important. And, you know, starting in the 80s, you know, Ronald Reagan started to chip away at those things, and with the airline traffic controller strike, and, you know, and here we are 40 years later.
Yeah.
It's and also the labor the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the guy that they fired, right? They fired someone last month when these numbers came out, and he appointed a new guy, right? This guy is, I don't know if he's been confirmed, I don't know what the deal is, but he was a January 6th insurrectionist. He is an expert economist, in air quotes, at the Heritage Foundation. He's on Fox News all the time. And also has behind his desk, a large mural of Adolf Hitler's favorite ship, the Bismarck. And here's a picture of him here. Because K-File at CNN, Andrew Kaczynski, did a story about this. And apparently there is even more controversial things that he has been posting about and other things. Trump's nominee to run the Bureau of Labor Statistics ran an anonymous Twitter account filled with sexually degrading attacks on Kamala Harris, anti-gay slurs, and far-right conspiracy theories.
Well, you know what? That probably just solidified the job for him.
Yeah.
How's that any different from our Secretary of Defense, for instance?
I see no difference, except this guy just has like crazier eyes. Honestly, yeah. He's just a little creepier looking. You're like, you know, Pete Hegseth, so I know you can speak from personal experience.
But look, we could just wrap this up here to say, we could just wrap this up here to say the reason we kind of think this is an emergency is I think people are not leveling with you in mainstream media about what's happening. And I used to, before I worked at Fox, I worked at CNBC. So I was the person in some instances delivering the economic news to you. And I can tell you, they're not leveling with you. Yeah. They are afraid to say what this really is, which is we are in stagflation. And they're afraid to say what the truth is, which is that this economy, by every metric, is tanking.
Yeah.
And it's an emergency. It is just an emergency. And we could sit there and worry about how to frame it because we don't want to offend Donald Trump, because we don't want him tweeting about us.
Right.
Or we could just call it for what it is. It's a fucking disaster.
Yeah.
And it's going to affect all of us. I don't care how much money you have. Where are your savings? Where's your 401k?
Yeah.
Is it in
haven't looked at
the stock market? Because the market's doing okay now because it's thinking it's going to be a rate hike. A rate, they're going to lower interest rates. That's why the market's doing well right now. But I'll tell you something. Once the economy starts to stall, the market's not going to do so well.
Yeah.
Market is always a lagging indicator, always. So get ready. Get ready for the market to start tanking. Get ready for layoffs. Get ready for you not to be able to afford to buy Christmas stuff in the same way that it was really expensive shopping for back to school stuff. And that's before the tariffs really have kicked in.
Yeah. I and Julie, I mean, I am 43 years old and I graduated college in 2004, right before the recession, the crash in 2008. Many of my friends who are just a couple years younger than me graduated into that. I feel like my entire adult life has been a never-ending stream of unaffordable student loans, interest rates, unaffordable houses, not being able to buy a house, not being able to buy anything, people not having children because they cannot afford it. Like, this is real. And you can't blame us for this. Like, this is the system that we were born into and have graduated into and unfortunately are trying to survive in. And it's just, it's not, something's gotta give. And the last thing I'll say before we wrap this up is that it's not just us. And if you want to know what's going on in your country, look around you and to our neighbors to the north. The Canadian economy, this is out today. Canadian economy bled 66,000 jobs in August as unemployment rate hits the highest since pandemic days. Their unemployment rate, rose 0.2 percentage points in August to 7.1%. A level last seen in May 2016 if the COVID-19 years of 2020 and 2021 were excluded, the data agency said. And there it is. It is in a chart from early this year to now. In Canada.
Of course, because, and they're going to blame their prime minister, and they shouldn't, because this is happening because the biggest trading partner that Canada has, the United States, is levying tariffs on them.
Yep. This is us. This is Donald Trump. Donald Trump did this. And I hope that their prime minister tells the Canadian people this. And on behalf of Americans everywhere who didn't vote for this, we are very sorry.
Yeah.
Very sorry.
We're very sorry because you are our friends and we loved you.
We have a lot of Canadians who watch us here on Over It and Mayday and all the other things that we do. And so, it's awful. It's awful.
All right. Michelle, we're going to be back in a little bit to talk about other stuff. We'll keep you guys posted about that. In the meantime, have a great day, everybody.
Yeah, and like and subscribe, everybody. Yeah. So when we schedule these things and we do them, because often they're on a whim, you'll be the first to know. You'll get a little alert about that. So make sure to like and subscribe so that you'll be the first to know when we're going live, when we're putting up content. And we'll see you in a few hours. Julie and I will be back. Happy Friday, everybody.
Bye, everybody.